You know, Paul said this in Galatians 6:10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, we must work for the good of all, especially for those who belong to the household of faith. One of the best ways that you and I can invest our time is by helping those who are in need. There is no excuse for us not to give away our time. And listen, if we're not imitating Christ now in the present, we're not going to do it in the future. You might say, well, Brother Jim, these are not good times. Well, these are difficult times economically. I know, they are. But folks, if we're not going to help serve now, when are we? We're called to imitate Christ. And if these future believers are going to serve in what is arguably the most difficult period this world will ever face, then certainly we can do it now. So one of the reasons we need to do this is to imitate Jesus. So that when people see us, they see Christ. Here's the second reason, and that is this. We should give away our time to serve others, to serve Christ. Do you know by serving others, if you're a Christ follower, you are serving Christ? Go back to our text, Matthew 25, verse 40, just for a second. Jesus says, I assure you, he answered them and said, I assure you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it for me. And again, during this period, the Antichrist is going to be pouring out his wrath, especially on Israel. And yet these Gentile believers are going to do everything they can to help their Jewish brothers and sisters. And Jesus is saying, whatever you did for them, you did it for me. And look at the sheep's response. Again, go back to that. They're confused. When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or without clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and visit you? The sheep are saying, we don't understand, we don't get it. And Jesus is saying, here's the point. When you serve them, you are actually serving me. I want you to go back and look at verse 34 and look at the results of when we serve Christ. This is awesome. Verse 34, then the king will say to those on his right, that's the righteous believers, come, you who are blessed by my Father. Isn't that awesome? The king will say to those who have served Christ, come, you are blessed by the Father. I don't know about you, but I want to be blessed by the Lord. I want God to say to me when I stand before him, blessed, you're blessed. When I was working on this, I thought of the Beatitudes. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Wouldn't that be awesome? An incredible blessing to have that close relationship with God. It happens by having a pure heart. Blessed are the poor, because they will inherit the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, because they will be comforted. Blessed are the merciful, because they will receive mercy. I don't know about you, but there's nothing greater than to hear God the Father say, you are blessed. And Jesus says, listen, here's the result. When you reach out and you help those who are in need, you are blessed by my Father because you are imitating Christ and you are serving Christ by serving others. It's not always easy, but it is the most rewarding thing ever. I want to read to you a letter. It was written by a Southern Baptist missionary by the name of Karen Watson prior to leaving for the Middle East. The letter was dated March 7th, 2003. 1 year later, on March 15th, 2004, Karen Watson was killed. But here's what she wrote upon leaving to serve others. Dear Pastor Phil and Pastor Roger, you should only be opening this letter in the event of my death. When God calls, there are no regrets. I tried to share my heart with you as much as possible, my heart for the nations. I wasn't called to a place. I was called to Christ. To obey was my objective. To suffer was expected. His glory, my reward. His glory, my reward. One of the most important things to remember right now, is to preserve the work. I am writing this as if I am still working with my people group. I thank you so much for your prayers and support. Surely your reward in heaven will be great. Thank you for investing in my life and spiritual well-being. Keep sending missionaries out. Keep raising up fine young pastors. In regards to my service, keep it small and simple. Just simply preach the gospel. Be bold and preach the life-saving, life-changing, forever eternal gospel. Give glory and honor to our Father. And then she wrote this poem, The Missionary Heart. Care more than some think is wise. Risk more than some think is safe. Dream more than some think is practical. And expect more than some think is possible. I was not called to comfort or success, but to obedience. There is no joy outside of knowing Jesus and serving Him. I love you too and my church family in His care. Karen. That was a lady who served God with all of her heart and ultimately lost her life. You know, in this passage, the other group are the goats. They are people who will not give away their time. During the tribulation time, food will be scarce. Why should I give it away and help others? Clothing is going to be scarce. Why should I give somebody the shirt off my back? It's going to be difficult to get medical attention if you got the mark of the beast, so why should I help somebody else? He will say to those on his left, verse 41, Depart from me, you who are cursed, into eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you didn't take me in. I was naked, and you didn't clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you didn't care for me. And at the end of the passage, Jesus condemns them, and they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. My question to you this morning is, are you giving away your time? The most important thing we can do with our time on this earth is to invest it by serving God, by serving others. All throughout this series, I've tried to give you some practical tools, and in your worship guide this morning, there is a blue insert. And if you say, I don't really know how I can invest my life, pick one. There are lots of ministry opportunities at our church. There are lots of ministry opportunities outside of our church. But I want to challenge you, don't stand before God and look back at your life and say, man, I wasted it. I had that opportunity to share the gospel with so many people, yet I didn't do it. I had the opportunity to serve God by serving others, and yet I refused to do it. If you're a Christ follower, when you and I stand before God, we will not be judged on whether or not we're going to heaven. That's already been determined if you're a Christ follower.